Someone else who is also enjoying life as best he can is former Brisbane Bronco, Queensland Red, Gold Coast Suns, and now current Waratah, Karmichael Hunt. Thank you so much for joining us, Karmichael. I mean, we've been lucky enough to watch your entire life dedicated to sports across multiple codes. Can you imagine now life without sport in this weird existence that we all find ourselves?
Oh, look, we don't even imagine it, do we? We're sitting in it right now, and it's getting quite boring, to be honest. So, the main thing is obviously everyone is healthy and safe, and I guess that's why we're isolated, at individual houses. But look, life without sport, I can't say that I know it actually. I mean, I played sport since I was 4 years old. Earlier memories playing league back in New Zealand, and then obviously been on the professional scene for the last 17 years. So this is really all I know. So to be without the competitive edge on the weekends, and turning up to work every day, trying to get better, and obviously help my teammates get better. It's quite strange, but I'm locked down with my 3 daughters, my wife, and my mother-in-law. So I'm busy, mind you.
Carmichael, Greg Alexander, g'day, mate. What have
Brandy.
You guys got locked down a couple of weeks before the NRL? What did they say to you? What did the rugby officials, what did the Waratahs tell the players?
Oh, look, it's quite simple. Like, I think we're just following instructions from government. New South Wales, obviously, we're looking to shut their borders and place harsher restrictions on, obviously, the movement of all their citizens. So obviously, playing in each state. Obviously, we've got teams right up and down the east coast of Australia, so it's going to make it hard for the competition to go on. And mind you, obviously, all the international teams as well that we've got in New Zealand and Africa and Japan. So the viability of the competition and going on was just not sustainable. So they pulled us from the comp, said that we would be obviously just trying to get a local comp up and running just between the Australian teams. That hasn't gone ahead, just purely because obviously everyone's locking their borders down. So we were told end of last week that we would be isolated at home for the next couple of weeks, training by ourselves, and just waiting to hear the latest updates from government to see if the possibility of the Australian Conference tournament getting kicked off in early April would be a chance. But obviously we're sitting in that time frame now where there's a lot of uncertainty. So trying to keep fit and healthy, keep the mind smiling. But, as I said, life without footy is a little bit difficult.
Karmichael, Big Ennis, mate, great to play with you many years ago, and I followed your wonderful career, throughout your time, obviously, finishing up in league and then going to AFL and then now into rugby, mate. You've travelled the globe, being a professional athlete. Give us some of your highlights. What's been, some of the highlights in this journey for you?
Oh, look, I think 06 grand final will probably be, a highlight. Becky, you got injured a couple of games before, did you?
Yeah.
Is my memory serving correct? Yeah, unfortunately. You missed that one, unfortunately, but you got one later on in your career. So 06, grand final will be up there with, I guess, one of the biggest highlights of my career. Playing Origin, playing for your country, been able to transition over the AFL. Look, that was a challenge in itself that I knew was going to be quite difficult, but something that I've always said from a young age is you got to go out there and test yourself and to see what you're capable of. So to be able to go over there and play 40-something odd games, kick a match winner against Richmond up in Cairns, it was, I guess, everything that I'd asked for was pretty difficult, mind you, on the mental space and definitely the physical space. Having gone from AFL to rugby, I definitely, my body was broken down. I think, the ratio between kilometres, during games and definitely during the training weeks, it's almost double going to the AFL. So going back to rugby, I was pretty broken. Obviously had a few ups and downs, off the field as well, but I've managed to sort of get back on the footy park and play some good football and play for the Wallabies and whatnot. So, mate, yeah, there are a handful of highlights, but, what can I say? I still hopefully I've got a few more left in me, but, with this virus acting the way it is, who knows, who knows what's going to happen in the future.
There hasn't been many players that have done it, Karmichael, the switch from league to AFL, and you're obviously a very talented player to be playing rugby league and AFL. Just the difference in terms of and the nuances of AFL, how difficult was it to make that transformation? Even though you're a great athlete, you could obviously kick the footy. How tough was it?
Yeah, it's difficult, Brandy. Obviously, you mentioned the nuances, but fundamentals are key in any sport. And heading over to a kicking dominant league with, mind you, quite a different kicking style to what I was used to growing up. I used to be around the corner, sort of traditional league rugby kind of kick, but obviously AFL are kind of straight through. Both sides of the body. Obviously, passing is a little different. So yeah, the nuances of the fundamental skills were difficult to adjust to. Mind you, you add on top of that sort of the game flow and strategies amongst that. All very difficult, but if I had to choose have to tell you what was the most difficult, it would have to be the running load. You're going from 6Ks a game and probably rugby and league. Obviously, mind you, high speed, but you're doubling that if you're sort of in certain positions, and some guys even running 17Ks if you're ruckman. So athletically, it's a huge demand. Like Mickey, you would have been fine, mate. Obviously, one of the fittest in the club back at the Broncos when I played with you, mate, and the ultimate professional. But I think you and Cozza would have been fine athletically. Not, mind you, you actually both kicked the footy all right as well. So
Cozza would have loved the singlets and the tight pants, I reckon.
Oh, mate, he would have had the pants on, the singlet tucked in, and probably no DTs as well, old Cozza.
we can cross to Corey a little bit later. I'm sure he's got something tight.
Yeah, absolutely. Karmichael, you've had exposure to some of the greatest sportsmen and women right around the world. We're about to talk to Darius Boyd coming up a little bit later on Fox League Live. What can you tell me about Darius and what he was like to have as a teammate and now that he's at the back end of his career, and hopefully he gets to go out the way that he deserves, and that is as a champion and on his own terms, and hopefully it's not the end of days for Darius just yet.
Yeah, look, hopefully not. Considering the way they started off the season, their first two games were unbelievable. I thought obviously got a pretty talented forward pack, but the skill and footwork that those forwards were showing to sort of get some space to their guys out wide was quite telling. But obviously early doors. But yeah, fingers crossed. Dubs can get back out there later on in the year and finish the campaign off, and hopefully raise another trophy in his illustrious career. But I guess personally, just playing with Darius, actually being there. It was my third year, his first year, which it was 06, and he won the granny in his first year. But just sort of seeing him come through, he was pretty chiseled. He had a chiseled physique from a young age, so you sort of automatically looked at him and just said, "Oh, I mean, he's obviously an athlete." But then to go on to work with him day in, day out, just seeing the way that he prepared his body and the way he went on attack training relentlessly was just something from a young age. I was a little bit older than him, but for me, for a young kid to come and show that kind of dedication and work ethic, I was amazed. And, he set a great example right throughout his career that I was there. Always first and last out, very clean with his diet, train the house down. Someone can always rely on the weekends. And that's something I guess most footy coaches and definitely most teammates, want. You want to be a part of teams where you're not carrying any passengers, and Darius, for the most part of his career, was not one. So hopefully the great man can get back out there, as I said, on the field and have another crack at getting another premiership, because he deserves